my channel. This week I'm bringing you another Cook with G. But before we get started, please be sure to subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up so that way we can keep on growing. Now today we are cooking from Cook This Book by Molly Baz. Now I first heard about Molly Baz when she worked for Bon Appetit. She did leave during that big surge when a lot of people were leaving. If you're curious about that, you can go ahead and look it up, but I feel like a lot of those creators went on to create amazing other things past their career there, including this book. And I was so excited when this came out because I always felt like the way that Molly cooked and the food that she liked really resonated with me. I mean, she has a whole chapter just dedicated to eggs. So obviously this was something I was pretty excited about. But aside from that, she also really wants you to learn how to cook, so much so that she added all of these QR codes throughout the book, where if you go and you scan it, it'll give you more information about how to do a technique or help with the recipe, so that way you can really get that full, engaging understanding of how to perform technically what is asked of you in the recipe. And I just felt like that was such a nice touch. I mean, I bought a cookbook, but I didn't think I was also getting all of these extra videos that go along with it, and I really appreciated that. Now, to no one's surprise, we're gonna start with the egg chapter. Let's cook. Okay, so the recipe that I picked are these jammy eggs with yogurt and brown butter nuts. Now, I mean, first off, it looks delicious, but aside from that, she writes up here that this is actually inspired by a Turkish dish that I've had before. So I definitely know that I like yogurt and eggs, but it's not something that I have typically made myself or really had outside of that one time that I had at a Turkish restaurant in Astoria, and it was delicious. So I wanted to make this again, see how I like it, and see if it's something that maybe I would make on repeat, because it seems pretty simple, but you know, I gotta make it first. Let's see. So the first step is to cook the eggs. So we're actually going to bring a medium pot to boil. Okay, so while that cooks, we're gonna make our garlic yogurt. So that is basically what the eggs are gonna be sitting on. So I just have 1 cup of Greek yogurt. You can also use LABNEH, which is one of my favorite dairy products, perhaps, but I have Greek yogurt today. So next time, if I like this, I would probably try it with LABNEH. If you also don't know what LABNEH is, I'll put it on the screen. It's kind of like a mix between yogurt and sour cream. It's very good. I've done a recipe in the series that had LABNEH. I can link that down below. It was LABNEH with like a berry compote on top, and I think about it often. It was very, very good. But we're going to take our yogurt, and then we're just going to take 1 clove of garlic. I have a feeling I will be longing for more than 1 clove, but we're going to follow the recipe. And then we're just going to use our handy dandy garlic press and put that right in. She says to finely grate it, but this works for me. I think that this is the same thing. I guess with finely grating, maybe you would get a, no, I think this actually does it. I'd say maybe you'd get like a pulp or like a more liquid out. If it's not as garlicky, perhaps, then I feel like maybe it was supposed to be. Perhaps I would just do 2 pressed garlic cloves instead. But that works for me. So let's go ahead and mix that, right? Just 1 cup with the garlic, and then we're gonna salt to taste. So we're just gonna add a little bit of our kosher salt. Now that's still not boiled yet, so we're gonna start on our next step. This recipe is moving along today. So we're gonna prepare the walnuts. So this is just some amount of walnuts that looks about a cup, probably something similar, maybe a little less, that I measured out. And I actually got mine already in broken pieces, but she says to chop them so they're about the size of a lentil, and these are a little big. So I'm just gonna put them on my cutting board and give them a nice little quick chop. But I'm curious because I feel like if this, you know, quick toasting and seasoning of nuts is successful for me, I could see myself potentially using this on like salads and other things. Because I love nuts, but I always kind of forget about them or like forget to use them in other ways than just like as a snack in like a trail mix or something like that. This looks pretty good. So now I'm going to take 5 tablespoons of butter, which is a lot of butter, and we're going to melt that down on our frying pan. She actually makes a note that says you can use the same pot that you boiled your eggs in. However, my stove is most certainly not fast enough because my water is not boiled, so my eggs have not even gone into the pot yet. So for now, we're gonna put our butter into our pan and get that melting down. Whoop. Okay, so now our butter is nice and foamy, so we can go ahead and add our walnuts into the pan. And we're just gonna cook this for about 2 to 3 minutes, I believe is what she said. And I think our water actually might be boiling as well. Mix this around first. At first I was like, 5 tablespoons of butter is so much butter. But then I was like, first off, it's gonna taste delicious. Second off, this is also 4 servings, so it's just a little over a tablespoon per serving, and then all of a sudden it didn't feel too crazy. So now let's get our eggs. She says just to put them on a slide spoon, and then we're gonna lower them in, and we're gonna do this 8 times. So everyone has their favorite way to cook hard-boiled eggs. Typically, what I actually do is that I'll just put mine in a cold pot of water and then bring it up to a boil. And then I take it off the heat, put the lid on, and then I set my timer for how long I want. However, I don't think that that is necessarily typical for how people cook their eggs. So I'm curious, how do you like to make your hard-boiled eggs? Do you even like hard-boiled eggs? I also need to set a timer for 7 minutes. Okay, timer is set. While those eggs cook for 7 minutes, let me know. How do you like to make your hard-boiled eggs? Do you even like hard-boiled eggs? If you don't, I know that you can make this recipe with poached eggs because it did say that in the cookbook. However, poached eggs are fairly similar to hard-boiled eggs, in my opinion. I feel like it's a similar texture and similar experience depending on how hard-boiled it is, but let me know what you think. Are you a lover? Are you a hater? Do you not like his eggs as much as me? Are you very excited about this recipe? How you're doing? Let me know. But for now, I actually think that our walnuts seem pretty good. They are beautiful and foamy, and I'm very excited. So let's see what our next step is. So we're actually going to add some pepper flakes and some turmeric, but they said to add Aleppo pepper. However, could not find Aleppo pepper, so they said that some chili flakes work fine, but if you use chili flakes, to just use a little bit less, or just know that the heat content is higher. So I just did a little bit less than was recommended. So just your standard red chili flakes. I'm gonna go in. And then just turmeric powder. You are gonna use 1/4 a tablespoon, 1/4 teaspoon. And that does stain, so we're gonna get that off of my off of my cutting board. I love turmeric, but it gets everywhere. Go and mix this, and it's just to cook this for another minute or two until all the spices are kind of cooked together. Okay, so our nuts are done and super fragrant, so we're gonna take that off the heat, and I'm just gonna add a sprinkle of some salt to season it. And then our eggs just finished, so we are gonna take that same slotted spoon. I'm actually gonna put them into my ice bath, which should stop the cooking. Give them a nice little chill. Hopefully they all fit. Yeah. I'm pretty excited. This looks amazing. I feel like I did pretty good on the eggs. I thought I was gonna have trouble peeling them, but I didn't. So I might use that method more and might make some jammy eggs more often. So I have a spoon to try it, but she also said to serve it with some flatbread or pita on the side. So let's get a little bit of everything and give it a go. This is insane. The brown buttered nuts have so much flavor and the perfect amount of heat, and they're also so like creamy or nutty. Oh my god, they're delicious. And topped with the eggs with that nice fatty component, and then cooled off by the garlic yogurt. You can dip in your... I mean, I'm not surprised. I like an egg dish, but this doesn't even necessarily remind me so much of that Turkish dish that she referenced. It truly is just inspired because I feel like the inspiration is to put yogurt with your eggs, which is not something that I typically would do, but now, oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm gonna go finish this and then, then we can move on because you might need to just stop watching here and get the cookbook and make it, which reminds me, I do have an Amazon shop. I put all the cookbooks there or any of the gadgets or things that you see me using here. So if you're curious about anything, you always leave me a comment, or you can check out my shop and see all of the cookbooks that I cook from or that I like or that I've mentioned before. But for this one, if you like eggs, if you like all the things in this dish, or I haven't sold it enough, you should try to make this at the very least. I'm seriously so impressed. Okay, we are moving along, even though I simply cannot stop thinking about that first dish. Yeah, it's safe to say that will definitely be in my rotation of breakfast, lunches, whatever have you, because it's also so balanced. There's perfect fat and flavor and nutrients from the... okay, anyways. Continuing on, we have a sneaky cottage cheese salad. Now, I know cottage cheese has had a bad rap over the years, kind of as like a diet food or whatnot, or food that's maybe considered with the geriatric population perhaps, but I personally am a cottage cheese lover, and I've never really seen a recipe that was for a salad with cottage cheese, so I figured this one would be a good one to try. Now, in preparation for the salad, I actually already put some more walnuts into the oven because we're just toasting those up. But now we can go ahead and make our dressing. Okay, the first ingredient is lemon. So I'm going to zest about, I think it said like 1/4 of the skin. I'm just using a microplane to zest it. I'm sure there's other types of zesters out there, but this is one that I personally really like. We are also using the juice of the entire lemon. So it's just going straight in. And the bowl that I'm making all this in, that's where my salad's gonna go. I figured it would be easier for cleanup, and also I don't have a dishwasher, so everything gets washed by hand. We are also using 1 clove of garlic in this recipe, and to follow up on my garlic thought from the last recipe, I think 1 clove was right. I feel like that was good. I would not have been mad if there were like 7 cloves. But I also feel like the flavors were balanced really well, so I think that the 1 clove of garlic was the right move because I wasn't expecting the walnuts to be so strong and flavorful, or that the heat from the pepper flakes was going to come through so much. Now we're going to add the star of the show, cottage cheese. Also, this is my preferred cottage cheese brand. It's a little pricey, but I really like the quality of it and the flavor and the size of the curd and everything. Apparently they just started selling it at Costco, so if you're looking to up your cottage cheese game, I definitely would check this one out. Next, we're adding 3 tablespoons of olive oil. Next, we're adding some pepper and just a pinch of salt. And we're gonna whisk this all together. I'm so curious because I know how much I like cottage cheese, but I would be curious to give this to someone who isn't like a big fan of it, because I feel like when it's in something, you just don't notice it as much. Maybe the texture is big for people, but I think the flavor is awesome. I don't know, maybe maybe it's just me. Let me know if you like cottage cheese or if you're on my side at all with this one. Time to add our lettuce. And also a cucumber that's under here somewhere. I could not find Persian cucumbers, which I love, so I was mad I couldn't find them. So I just did half of an English cucumber, which was the replacement that she recommended. We're also going to add some dill, just a cup of dill. Okay, if you've never mixed a salad with your hands, as long as they're clean, it's not that big of a deal. I like to do that with kale salads a lot, so you could actually massage it. But honestly, I feel like whenever I mix my salads with my hands, it's much better dressed. It is messy, but if you have like little kids around and they want to help you out, if you wash their hands, you know, help them wash them, make sure they're clean, it is a great task for kids, because they're just gonna get in there and they get to play with their food. Some people I'm sure watching this and probably cringing at the fact that I have dug my hands into this salad, and you know, if you are serving it to someone, maybe get some tongs. I don't know if that's like something that bothers you, but in restaurants they're always using their hands. They're just washing them repeatedly. They're the best tools that you can have in the kitchen. And personally, this is a salad for me, so I simply don't mind because my hands are cleaned. I have washed them, and look how amazingly mixed this salad now is. She also said to use little gems lettuce, preferably, but I only could find romaine, which was, again, her substitute. I also didn't know the difference between little gem and romaine, and apparently little gem is just the, like, beginning stages of romaine, like a young romaine. I also feel like this could be good with, like, maybe some butter lettuce or something kind of like that, but romaine is gonna have some more bite to it, which is good. Okay, the last thing to add are our walnuts. She just said to dry toast them, which is what I did, and also she said to chop them when they came out of the oven. However, as you know, these are already like walnut pieces, so they're already broken up. So they're just gonna go straight in because I think that they're bite size already. And now I can use my spatula and kind of just give that a little bit of a toss in there. Okay, let's try it. It's definitely very dill forward, and I feel like if you really didn't like cottage cheese, you would notice it, but I don't think the flavor is as strong as like if you were just eating cottage cheese straight. However, it's really refreshing. I feel like it would pair very well with like a dense protein, like a steak or a chicken or something. If you're like grilling in the summer, this is a good side salad. That being said, I feel like my romaine hearts might have been big because I think that maybe this is too much lettuce for the quantity of dressing. Maybe I needed to mix it better. Maybe my hands weren't as good as I thought. I'll give it the benefit of the doubt, but I think I would 100% make this dressing again. And I would also toast walnuts to just toss into a salad because that was a nice crunch. But I would definitely use either a like weaker green, like a butter lettuce or something that's kind of like, you know, not as stiff. Or I would just use less romaine. I think that this is dressed fine. I just think it's me. I just think I like a lot of dressing, and that was like what I would have liked. That being said though, I still feel like this paired with like a protein or like even just like add some chicken into it is really nice and refreshing. And I definitely will be trying to add cottage cheese into my salad dressings more. I feel like that was pretty surprising to like add that nice creamy element, and there was cottage cheese all over this bowl. I still feel like the distribution of cottage cheese is fairly even, so probably just me. And if you like a refreshing salad, this be for you. But we actually have one more recipe left, so let's cook. Kibas and cabbage soup. Kibas meaning kielbasa, which is something that I don't think I've ever cooked with. However, it was something I had a lot growing up, and if my mother is watching, which I know she probably is probably shocked I'm making it because I really didn't like kielbasa very much when I was a kid. However, I like sausage, and as an adult, I have come to learn that kielbasa is just sausage. So I'm gonna make this soup. I've had expectations. I have had it since I, you know, had it when I was younger, so I think I'll like it. But we've got some beans, we've got some kielbasa, we've got some cabbage, wonderful broth, more dill. So let's get going on this recipe. And we're gonna break out the trusty Dutch oven too. We're gonna start by taking our olive oil and measuring out 1/4 of a cup. And that's just gonna go straight into our Dutch oven because we're gonna start with browning the kielbasa before we really bring the whole soup together. And I just cut the kielbasa up into these like half moon shapes. So I sliced it in half lengthwise, which is what she said, and then I cut them down so that way they are like this. But it's a little, could be better, but I got the job done. So she says to add these in a single layer into the oil. So, and then kind of cook them undisturbed. I'm gonna put them all in willy-nilly, and then we can move it around. So just get this in kind of like a flattened layer. I think just because we wanna get it browned, have it start cooking. I might have some competition for audio. You can hear how insane that kielbasa sounds. So it is time to add our celery, onion, and then I have a bunch of garlic cloves that I could use my garlic press again and put in. Let's put all our garlic in. Now time for the cabbage portion of the soup. So this is just a pound of cabbage that has been shredded or sliced into about like 1-inch pieces. And she said to remove the core, which I did the best that I could, but I in fact have found a piece of core and that needs to go. She said a ton of black pepper. So we're actually gonna stir this continuously until the cabbage is cooked down. She said you want the cabbage to be soft but not crunchy. Okay, so now we're gonna add 3 tablespoons of tomato paste. This one in a tube I actually get from Trader Joe's. I know it's typically sold in a jar, but this one is great, just tomato and salt. And you can squeeze it straight in. That's 1. And we're gonna cook this for just about 2 minutes until we continue on. But it's already smelling very good. So apparently you cook it though until it sticks to the bottom. I'm assuming we wanna kind of get that like flavor built up on the bottom. And I was willing to make this and give kielbasa another try. I mean, I have had it since I was a kid, but I just distinctly remember not particularly liking it. I was curious because I love cabbage. I really do. And I like sausage. So I was just like, you know, this is something I would eat. And I feel like someone would give it to me and not tell me that it's kielbasa instead of like a typical like Italian sausage or fennel sausage or something like that. And I would probably have no idea. So that's what I'm going for. But I'm optimistic. Now we're adding 2 cans of butter beans. She also said you could use gigantic beans or cannellini beans. But I've never had butter beans, so I want an excuse to try them. They do look pretty good. They have like a lima bean type of shape. So let's put them in. And then the next step after this is that we're actually gonna take some of them and with a wooden spoon, which I'm using, just like smash them against the side. I think just to kind of give it like a creamy texture perhaps. I thought that was an interesting step. She said to do just like a half a cup, but obviously they're already in there. So I think you're just kind of like taking a bunch and smashing them to your own discretion. I feel like that'll be a nice texture change. Okay. And then you can mix all that together. We are on to our last step. So we're going to actually add in 4 cups of water. So that way we have it kind of turn into soup. It's just been beans and cabbage and kielbasa cooking. So this is going to simmer on the stove for about 15 minutes. And we're gonna season with some salt, pepper, and another cup of dill. So this is gonna cook for 15 minutes, and then we're just gonna add some salt and pepper and a whole cup of dill. I think I remember this from some of the Bon Appetit videos, but Molly Baz definitely really likes her dill, considering we've used 2 full cups today. But I'm sure that it's all going to come together, and I'm very excited to taste it. We did it. We have our soup. I'm very excited to try it, so let's just dig in. Also, what was topped, the white was some Greek yogurt. So you could also use sour cream, but I had Greek yogurt from earlier in the recipe, so that's what I went with, along with some more olive oil and some black pepper. So let's try it out. Don't tell my mom, but I definitely like kielbasa now. Yeah, this is really good. I mean, it would work with like a regular sausage, but I feel like kielbasa just brings so much flavor to this dish. You can really taste all of the seasonings and flavors that they use to put into the sausage. I mean, this is really good. And honestly, the thing with a good soup is when you can find a soup that can be done in like 20, 30 minutes and it doesn't actually have to sit on the stove all day, I feel like that's such a win. Because I always want soup, but I don't always have the forethought to make it, you know, early in the morning to have later that night, which is a great reward if you do. But I feel like the fact that this one could be made the same night that you want to eat it is really great. And it's delicious, it's warming, and the dill, it's perfect. It's the right amount. I feel like I like this recipe a lot more than the salad, but again, I think the salad works best not as the star of the show, but as a accompaniment to the actual like protein that you're serving with it. And honestly, if it was like a steak with like a chimichurri, I'm not even a steak person, but I feel like steak, chimichurri, that salad, that would be delicious. Now this soup, some crusty bread, maybe a little butter on that bread, not even actually. I feel like you could just go dry bread dunked into this soup. This is delicious. I'm very excited. I will be testing if it freezes well because I made an absolute ton. It does say only 4 to 6 servings, but this Dutch oven is basically full, so I've got a lot of soup on my hands now. However, you know how I feel about the eggs, you know how I feel about all these recipes. I feel like today was a win. I have a lot more in there that I'd love to cook in the future, but if you have any cookbooks or any recipes you want me to try out, let me know. And if you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up so that way we can keep on growing. As a reminder, all of my cookbooks will be linked down below. I have affiliate links for them, so if you're interested in getting them, then feel free to check out my shop. No pressure though. I appreciate you being here, and thank you so much for supporting me on my journey so far, and I will be sure to catch you next time. Bye!